Hello and welcome to my channel. So in this video, I'm going to take you through the understanding that not every project's problem is a project manager's problem. I know from my experience and some other junior project managers who approached me, they always think that each problem they get, it's always a project manager's problem. In some cases, I can tell you, it's not a project manager's problem. It's not even a project's problem. There are actually so many issues, so many challenges, so many problems that come into the project that are not specifically for project, and they can also affect the delivery of a project. So let's move on. Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm going to take you through the understanding that not every problem is the project manager's problem. Have you ever heard someone saying the project manager should know? Someone saying, why is it the project manager did not resolve this? There are some problems which cannot be resolved by a project manager. There are some problems which are actually deep-rooted in the organization or in the business, that even if you try to implement any project, it's bound to fail. Not because the project manager is bad, but because some of these items or some of these challenges are beyond the project manager's resolution. So let's get started. Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Oscar Mbira. I'm a certified program and project manager. In this video, I'm going to take you through the understanding that not every problem is a project manager's problem or is a project problem. There are some problems which are organizational or which are business which cannot be resolved by a project manager. So let's get started. I hope you're enjoying the video so far. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to click the like button, subscribe button, and the notification button so that you're the first person to be notified each time a new video is uploaded on this channel. It will also help the channel to grow. It will also help the channel to produce more videos like this one. So, in projects, there are quite a number of challenges that you can come across, or we normally come across as project managers. And some of these challenges, they might not have anything to do with the project. It might not even have anything to do with the project manager. It might not even have anything to do with the project team. It might not even have anything to do with the contract. But in most cases, it could be something to do with the organization as a whole, or it could be something to do with something external to the project. So it is quite important, if you're a project manager, to be able to segregate the two, which means you're able to say this problem is coming from the project, this one is not coming from the project. That is quite important because it's going to help you to come up with solutions on how to resolve some of these problems, or how to avoid them, or even how to escalate some of these problems. So in this video, I'm going to take you through about 5 problems which are not normally project manager related or project related. So it's quite important to understand these specific problems so that when you get into such a situation, at least you are able to know how to react, you are able to know how to resolve. So let's move on. So the first challenge, which is not normally related to the project manager or the project, is where the strategic business approach does not make sense, okay? Which means the strategy does not make sense to the business. You can be involved in a project where you are requested to produce some objectives or some goals, and for you to do that, it must be aligned to the business objectives. Like what I normally do in my projects, I always make sure that I get the objectives and the goals of the project to be aligned to business. But imagine if the business objectives and goals, they do not make sense, which means even your project is not going to make sense. So that's normally one of the challenges that you're likely going to face in project management. So if you're involved in a project where you think the business strategy does not make sense, it means the foundation is shaky. You can't help such a situation. The best that you can do is to try to engage the business or business leadership so that at least they can relook at the strategy if it does not make sense. So it's not a project problem, but it's a strategic problem. And it might not require a project management solution. It might require something outside the project management solution. So it's quite important to understand what is the strategy of the business. Is it aligned to the project? What are the goals of the business? Are they aligned to the project, even objectives? That's very, very important. Otherwise, as a project manager, it will be very difficult for you to solve such problems. So the second point now is where the culture of collaboration is broken. What do we mean by this? I can tell you from experience, projects, it's all about collaboration. You collaborate with your stakeholders, you collaborate with your team members, you collaborate with a sponsor, you collaborate with project board or steering committee, you collaborate with organizational leadership, you collaborate with vendors, external suppliers, even the regulator. So imagine you are being requested to run a project where the culture of collaboration is broken, which means you won't be able to do so many things as a project manager. The collaboration is toxic. So this is not a project issue. This is not a project manager issue. This is a corporate organizational issue. And I can tell you it's very difficult to manage a project where there's no collaboration. Say, for example, you are requesting for functional resources. The functional managers will not support you. They will not provide you with any resources as you expect. And imagine most of the projects these days, you cannot run away from technology. So you want some help from ICT department, and there's no one who is willing to help. So it becomes very, very difficult if you are working in a project where there's no collaboration, especially if you want to consider all the stakeholders. It's quite important that you understand all the stakeholders in a project. Stakeholder management in a project is very important. If you want to understand more about stakeholder management, I've created a video on stakeholder management. You can also watch it from my channel. I'll also leave a link in the description below for you to access it quickly. So collaboration between stakeholders, all the stakeholders, external and internal stakeholders, is very important. And you have to make sure that if that collaboration is broken, I can tell you, it won't be easy to start a project. It's better to talk to the right organizational members to get this sorted out. Then the third one is where you have the ideas that look very, very good, or even slides or presentations that look very good, but they deliver nothing. I've seen in one of the projects that I was involved, I've seen people, especially from the marketing side, with very good slides in terms of what the end product or outcome of the project would look like. But if you try to look at the value, there wasn't much in terms of value. So you also need to be careful in terms of these issues. They normally come in with very good presentations, very good slides, but at the end of the day, you are not able to deliver the project. It does not give the project enough information in terms of objectives, in terms of goals. So it is quite important that you should be able to separate good slides with bad information or information that is not very valuable. Something that look like simple slides, but with valuable information. So these are not always like a project manager's problem. These are outside the project management problem, especially if you are working on campaign products or short-term projects which are supposed to provide value as quickly as possible. Yeah, there's a temptation that someone might start mobilizing people to appreciate that this is going to be something that is going to be very simple, and you're going to make it within a few or so months. So you need to be very careful about that. It's not normally a project management problem. So the other challenge which normally comes, or problem, which is not a project management problem, is there are always constant budget cuts. But the inputs, they remain the same, but the outputs is expected to be constant. Say, for example, your initial budget was, as an example, $100,000. And then all of a sudden it's cut to 80. But the scope has not changed. Even the timeline has not changed. But now, because of some other challenges within the organization or business, they decided to bring down the budget from 100 to 80. And they are still expected to deliver the project within the same timelines and then within the same scope. So these are not normally a project management issue or project manager issue. These are organizational issues. There are so many organizations who are very quick to cut the budget when there's too much pressure on the project. And this problem it's not a project management problem, it's an organizational problem. If they don't want to change scope and they're cutting the budget, it's very difficult to deliver that project. So you need to be very, very careful when it comes to understanding how the budget cut is going to affect the project, how the budget cut is going to affect the outcomes of the project. In most cases, budget cuts, they make it very difficult, especially if they don't change scope. But in some cases, they cut the budget and they also reduce the scope, which makes sense anyway. That one you can deliver. But where the budget is going down, but the scope is not changing, the delivery timelines are not changing, it becomes very difficult to deliver such a project. Then, the last but not the least challenge you're going to face, which is not a project management problem, is where the leadership is constantly absent. Okay? I can tell you from my experience. Okay? I can tell you from my experience, the moment you have the leadership supporting the project, especially the sponsor, your life becomes very easy. Very, very easy. But if your leadership is not involved, or when you need them, you can't find them, it becomes very difficult. So how do you try to mitigate against this? There are a number of ways. The first one is to make sure that there's constant stakeholder engagement from the beginning all the way up to the end. Don't make a mistake I've seen with other project managers. They think that stakeholder engagement is only done during the initial stages. That is not correct. Stakeholder engagement must be done from the beginning all the way up to the end of the project. So if the leadership is not getting so much involved, it's best that you engage them frequently. One of them is to ask for meetings so that you can update them, progress update meetings, you can update them. And then one of them also is even to create a relationship with the leadership on a one-to-one basis, so that at least you can gain some confidence from them. Number two, you can always be updating them here and there. If a project is mission critical for the business or organization, you should expect the leadership to be supporting that. And I can tell you, there are cases where the project becomes very hot, very constrained, and you need someone in the leadership to unlock some of the challenges, especially when it comes to contracts, payment of vendors, and so on and so forth. So leadership, which is not always available, it's not a project manager's problem. It's an organizational or business problem that has to be solved by the organization or by the business. So leadership must always be available. That is why you are recommended, or what I normally do is to make sure that your governance structure is very, very strict in terms of inclusion of organizational leadership. For example, you have your sponsor, and in the project board, you want to make sure that the users and also the suppliers, they are well represented by senior managers from their organization. That way it helps, even if your board meeting or steering committee meeting is a monthly activity, it makes life very easy, because every month you give them updates. If you give update to a senior guy, most likely it's going to cascade to other members. And where it is possible, always look for sign-offs. I normally do it in my projects. Each milestone, I would request at least some senior managers to sign off a milestone. That forces them to be involved. And someone cannot just sign something which they don't understand where it's coming from. In most cases, they'll start asking so many questions. And the moment they're asking so many questions and you respond, it enables them to understand exactly what is happening in the project. So this is very, very important to appreciate in a project environment. I hope you have enjoyed the video so far. If you are new to the channel, don't forget to click the like button, subscribe button, and the notification button, so that you are the first person to be notified each time a new video is uploaded on this channel. It will also help the channel to grow. It will also help the channel to produce more videos like this one. Let us now summarize some of these 5 problems, which are not always a project problem or project manager problem. Number 1, strategy which is not aligned. A strategy which is very clear and making sense, it makes it very easy to align the project to the strategy. Number 2, where the culture of collaboration is broken, it's very difficult to deliver a project in such an environment. Then number 3, it's also where we have some ideas which might look very valuable with good slides and everything else, but there's no value at all. So those ones are not project problems. Then number 4, what we have is if constantly changing or constantly cutting of budget without changing scope. and timelines. That is also a big challenge that you normally face, and it's not a project problem, it's an organizational problem. Then the last one is where the leadership is not always available for the project, which means if you need specific support, approval, decision making, you don't normally get them. So it's quite important that you do appreciate that some of these problems, they are not project problems. They are beyond project problems. Could be organizational problem, other environments, regulatory, and so on and so forth. If you want me to create more videos based on what we have discussed in this video, or maybe there's some concept or idea which is not clear to you, you can reach out to me or you can let me know in the comment section below. Thank you for watching.